Show presents The Covers Face Off.
Who did it first? Who did it best? Which version is superior?
The Covers Face Off.
Hello and welcome everyone to another exciting episode of The Covers Face Off, a new thing presented by the Dude and Grim Show. I'm the Dude,
sir.
And he is Grim. What up, Grim? Why don't you tell all these fine folks out there this new, just like amazing concept we came up with?
Well, I think the concept was we love discussing albums so much. The idea here was that we would discuss a great song that was covered. And so covered and not only covered, but recorded on an album. And
right.
so
not like a live, like, hey, Dave
No.
Matthews or somebody recorded this shit live. Like,
yeah,
no, like
correct.
A real
No,
cover.
this is a cover recorded on an album by another artist in a good way. And not to say that we won't do live ones, but but at least recorded in some way as meant to be a cover. And the idea is that this isn't scratch a track in terms of we scratch which one we don't like as much, but we talk about the cover and we talk about the reasons why we each like the one that we choose the best, whether it's by the original artist or by the artist who covers it. So we kick it off this time with All Along the Watchtower. The original version being by Bob Dylan and the cover version being by Jimi Hendrix, the Jimi Hendrix Experience.
Yeah.
So,
You know, Grim, I wonder, even before we get started, I wonder if a lot of people out there even know that the Jimi Hendrix version is a cover.
well, and I think that's something that we're going to come to with a lot of these covers is that maybe some of the folks don't know that that these songs are a cover, and that's part of the reason why we're doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
So with All Along the Watchtower, we find the song originally recorded by Bob Dylan, who wrote the song on the John Wesley Harding album released in 1967.
Right.
And I really enjoy the John Wesley Harding album. It's honestly, for this time period of Dylan, I think it's a fairly acoustic album. I mean, a lot of the stuff that he had definitely gone electric by this time.
Had he? Okay.
Yeah, he had, and he had released a lot of more, electric albums, so to speak, with, with kind of a full band. But John Wesley Harding, that album to me was a lot of, maybe not a lot of, but it was kind of a return to some of this more acoustic sounding material.
Folksy.
That people were more familiar with and a lot of people more comfortable with, including the people who threw shit at him at the Newport Folk Festival when they got pissed that he went electric.
Yeah. Yeah, it was not well received. It's no secret. It was not well received when he decided to plug in. No, people, they didn't dig that at all. It's interesting because I think, like a lot of people, I didn't know that. I was more familiar with Hendrix's version of it, or I should say the Jimi Hendrix Experience, their version of it.
Well, and me too initially.
Yeah, and it was through that I realized it was a cover and Dylan did it, and so I picked up the John Wesley Harding album. And and primarily just for that song, because at the time there was no streaming or Napster or anything like that. I was like, well,
sure.
I need to hear Dylan's version. Like, what is this? Oh, that's cool. And so
Dylan's version, I mean, it's a great song. It's
very Dylan.
It is. It's he's playing acoustic guitar, he's playing the harmonica, and the lyrics are the same. It's kind of I guess I've heard it, or I've read it described as sort of an allegory with some religious references in it.
Yeah. For the bibliophiles out there, if you look at the book of Isaiah, chapter 21, verses 5-9, a lot of the words and lyrics kind of intertwine and come from that. I mean, I initially, just from listening to the song, I don't think that would be very apparent to anyone, but some people did some research and figured that out. And from what I've read, most of the album he actually wrote after, because he had that really kind of horrific motorcycle accident, and he was recovering from that, I think, when he wrote most of the songs for this album. So I don't know if he was, sitting in bed and reading the Bible or what was happening, but it seems like, some of the lyrics and words were taken from that chapter and verses from the book of Isaiah.
Yeah, and now if we get into the cover, I think probably a lot more people are familiar with the Jimi Hendrix Experience cover of the album. And this was published, I guess, or recorded and published on the Electric Ladyland album. And one of the things that I read, and I don't know how true this is, but that they wanted the sound of a 12-string acoustic guitar, and they went into the garage or they went into somebody's house and very quickly borrowed a 12-string guitar to record.
We'll bring it right back.
Yeah, exactly, to record this. And the thing is, I just, it's hard to think of this song and not, to me, think of the Jimi Hendrix cover, not only because of the sound of that 12-string guitar, but because of the way they did the song. I mean, the guitar solos and everything they scream out. They're wonderful. I mean, it's such a, there's a lot of people talk about a couple different ways to do a cover. And one way is to do it and to try to do, to pay homage to the original version. Sure. And then other people talk about to do a cover and make it their own. And I mean, this is such, to me, an example of someone, or a band rather, who took this awesome song and really made it their own.
Yeah. I mean, 100%, 100%. And yeah, I think you were saying, just talking about really just how great it is. I think if we did a poll, a lot of people would consider Stairway to Heaven to be probably the best rock song of all time. I think if you took a poll, at least for me, that's what I consider.
Okay.
If there's a number 2, or let's just say a 1B, I think it's Jimi Hendrix's All Along the Watchtower. Is when I think about the greatest rock songs of all time, this one is right up there, and it can fight and battle it out with any other song. No question.
I agree. And the thing is, I remember as a kid learning every guitar solo in that song because it was just so good. And now, fast forwarding to, I don't even want to say now, but let's say 10 years ago, knowing that this is a Dylan song and listening to it on John Wesley Harding, which was interesting to hear the changes between the two. But at the time when I was a kid learning these guitar solos, like I didn't know that this was even a cover. I just, I just thought this was just an awesome song that they made, that he wrote, and that was it.
Yeah. One thing that is a little, I guess, interesting now, this song was on the Electric Ladyland album, but it's also on, there's a slightly different version of this song is on South Saturn Delta.
Oh, really?
It's a different mix. If you look at that album, and listen to it, it's All Along the Watchtower, and it's like there, but it's a slightly different mix. And I haven't listened to it enough to tell you like what the main differences are, but there is kind of a different mix of it on another Jimi Hendrix album. And I don't know, is South Saturn Delta, is that considered a Jimi Hendrix or Jimi Hendrix Experience album, or is that something that came out later? It's not like a greatest hits.
No, the way I understand South Saturn Delta is that he got to a point where he wasn't playing with the Experience anymore. The Experience being Jimi Hendrix, Noel Redding, and Mitch Mitchell. Noel Redding being the bassist, Mitch Mitchell the drummer. And South Saturn Delta, as I understand it, was some of the recordings that he was working on that would have been released had he not died. It was like kind of like his next phase, if you will. And it's funny because Electric Ladyland was his last album that was released as The Experience. And I think that during the recording of this album and throughout that process, as I understand it, there was some turmoil, and he kind of diverted from the band a little bit, because if you notice, when he performed at Woodstock, Jimi Hendrix, there was Mitch Mitchell was playing drums, but he called it like the Gypsy Rainbows or something. And Noel Redding was not included. He had his friend Billy Cox playing bass at that point, who consequently also played bass on the what am I thinking?
Band of Gypsies?
Yeah, the Band of Gypsies live album.
Yeah.
So he was already kind of moving in this other direction from The Experience, in air quotes.
All right. Well,
at that point.
So I guess during the recording of this song, he was recording the song with The Experience. I guess Noel Redding got pissed off during the recording session, and he left. So Hendrix actually put in the final bass track that you hear on the album.
Oh, no kidding. That I did not know.
Yeah. And another little fun fact, our good friend, who is also no longer with us, Brian Jones, actually played the vibra slap on this album, or on this track.
Wow. Well, that's just that.
Yeah. Which is
interesting.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. So I think that, gives people a little bit of insight into kind of both sides. And Dylan actually said that he really liked Hendrix's recording, and he actually sings it now. When he sings it, he actually feels like he's paying tribute to Hendrix.
Well, and that kind of makes sense. And to me, that's the hallmark of a true songwriter, because he wrote a great song and somebody really just took it to the next level. And I think it's really cool that he feels that and feels that this is some sort of tribute to him.
Yeah. Yeah. And, that would be, I think for some artists might be a little sensitive thing, because I think depending on the artist, they may feel a little territorial. Like, this is my song, and
Sure.
it comes from this place, and this is my artistic vision, and then somebody else takes it. So you kind of have to be a little respectful. And I'm curious. I from what I read, the somebody it was Dylan's manager or publicist of the manager actually gave Hendrix the tapes of John Wesley Harding, and he listened to All Along the Watchtower, and that's how he got the idea for it.
Oh,
but
wow.
I'm curious if there was some sort of a discussion, or Jimmy reached out to him and said, "Hey, I'm thinking of doing this," or I mean, I'm sure Bob Dylan got some sort of royalties.
Well,
and probably did very well,
I don't know anything about that, but just for reference, without going too overboard here, I don't think Jimi Hendrix was a stranger to covering everything, or anything rather, because there is a story that says Jimi Hendrix heard what the Beatles were doing in the studio with Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, and he was performing a concert not long after that, and he actually did a cover of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, the song, before, and the Beatles, now mind you, the Beatles were in attendance in this concert. He did a cover of that song before they released the album. In concert. In concert.
Was that what it was? See, was that what it was? See, I swear in the anthology, I thought, and that may be true, I thought the story was like it came out on a Friday or something, and he was playing it on Saturday or Sunday. It was like seriously.
Oh, it could be, but either way, it was like so close that it didn't even get the chance to like grip on that the Beatles had released it, and he covered it in concert.
Yeah.
Just to kind of give him a little,
like, hey, what's up, guys? I know what you're up to. I know what you're up to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's so, the take on All Along the Watchtower. I have to say, as much as I do like Bob Dylan's version, Hendrix's version always stands out to me as the definitive version of that song, dude.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I have to go with Dylan's version, or I'm sorry, Hendrix's version. I mean, I think to me, it's one of the greatest rock songs ever recorded, and he did a phenomenal job with it. And he wouldn't have done it without Bob Dylan. But man, he certainly took it to the next level. So
yeah.
Well, I think that actually wraps up our first episode of the Covers Face
Off.
Exactly, dude. It reminds me of like Blades of Steel. Face Off. It's the past. It's the past, right? So yeah, we hope you guys enjoy that. We're going to, I think the plan is to put these out typically on Mondays, and then have our full album kind of review scratches come out on Wednesdays. These will tend to be shorter episodes. I think right now, we're thinking 10, 15, 20 minutes, depending on how in depth we're able to get into some of these covers. But we wanted to start with All Along the Watchtower because for me, I think it is the definitive cover. I don't know if there's a better one. So
no, I agree, dude.
So we appreciate everyone listening to the first episode of the Covers Face Off, and we can't wait to do some more. So keep listening and keep dialed in. The Dude and Grim, we're out.
The Covers Face Off
is produced by the Dude and Grim. Additional music provided by More. That's ... MORE, and the Tims, TIMNZ. Copyright 2020. The Dude and Grim Show.